Back on this CSS starter. I do want to fix this up. Oh my gosh, do I have Vim mode on? I do not want this. No Vim features. That's kind of interesting. Sublime. Doesn't matter. I just don't want Vim really. I think I want an H2 later. I don't want all these H's up here, but I like the one. I don't mind the H1. H group. That's not even real. Section, also not necessary there. The pre-tag is awfully high. We can tuck that down into later in the thing. Why don't we start a little more classic with just some lorem ipsum. And we'll rock a link in the middle of a paragraph. Just so that's handled right away. Maybe an H2 could be appropriate. I'm an H2 with a link. I think it's nice to have a link that you can see in a header as well as in the body copy, because you might have differences between those two things, perhaps. Now there's a list that's navigation. Why does that matter? Is that useful in this context? I'm more interested in these lists than anything else, really. God, I'm getting a call from PayPal. Incredible. I'm going to leave it alone for now. I just wanted like a little bit of cleanup there. I guess with this pre-tag, I don't like the extra space at the bottom. That's just a choice, but I'm just designing how this looks. As I keep having to look at it, I don't like how it looks, really. This is an aside and a footer and a block quote. This is fine. We definitely have some table work to do. But I'm not like offended by the look of this HTML for now. The HTML is not really what we're working on. What we're working on is the reset part and all of our notes that go around the reset part, which is really just this. So I think we decided to layer it. Interesting. Can I organize this a little bit better? It's kind of like, I don't know, this is typography related, and this is layout related, and this is back to typography related. All this is. The only thing that's not typography is, I guess, the color scheme and the box sizing. Would you split them up? I think my tendency is not to. Would you alphabetize them? I mean, more tempting to do that, I guess, just to keep the four typography things together. I don't really care that much. We don't need the box sizing there anyway. Oh, we do need it there because of the inheritance. Yeah, those are buddies. So it's almost tempting to like put it at the bottom because then it's next to the other box sizing. We're just making some aesthetic choices here on how this looks. And now there's a bunch of typography choices here. Pretty happy with them mostly. Probably a lot of typography stuff in here generally. It's, part of me is like, do we do, typography section or whatever, and then cordon that off just through organization from other things? Or do you just let it be a big ol' mess? That. Just cleaning up before we move on. I think in the rest of this, I want to We hadn't looked at Josh's yet. I want to pull all the best ideas in here. I guess we shouldn't do too much organization, but right now this feels just like it's just a big list of stuff that when we looked at other resets and our own thinking and my own writing and stuff, this is stuff that I would put on pretty much every site. That's kind of the thing. Actually, we could review the principles quick. What is the purpose of this thing? The purpose of it is that there was this great blog post that's like, if you're a CSS developer, someday you'll make a CSS reset of your own, kind of from Mike Mai, and I have never done that, so I'm doing it. It's not a reset, it's a starter. A reset meaning it would strip away stuff, and I don't really care about stripping away stuff if it doesn't need to be stripped away. Don't really care. It's more of a starter. It's an opinionated starter. It's an opinionated starter for sure. And it's for me. It's things that feel useful to me. So if there's cool ideas that I like, but I just don't see myself using very much, I'm not putting it in there. The whole thing is going to use logical properties, and it's not going to use custom properties. So yes, use logical properties. Don't use custom properties just because that's a step too far in the purpose of this thing. Do accessibility things that are easy to forget about. But again, not when it's at odds with number 2 up here, I guess. And that if it's an accessibility thing that I saw one earlier while we were doing this that was like, hey, that's really neat, but I don't think it's ever come up for me. It had something to do with Aria Busy. Don't do too much because in a way you don't have to do anything at all. There's this Jonathan Snook blog post that's like he doesn't ever use one. So I'm not going to convince him with whatever this is, 200 lines of code if he's used to 0 lines of code. But, you know, a slight difference of opinion, but I do like his opinion that I think on a lot of my projects, I just don't even bother. And what ends up being the CSS starter is just styles that kind of naturally evolve from the styling of the site. And I think that's a fine approach too. It's not the kind of thing that you're going to npm install. Like, I don't want this to be versioned. I don't really care about that. It's just a chunk of CSS that I'll either grab parts of or grab the whole thing to use. Maybe I'll link it up from this pen on other pens that I'm starting with because it has this kind of nice style thing going on. So it'd be just like an external resource for some other pens. Probably usage on CodePen is pretty high on the list. And it's also, if there's another way to think about this, is that's a list of things that I wish were kind of the browser defaults anyway. Probably maybe a little too strong of an opinion there, but you know, if like a default style sheet looked like this, I wouldn't be mad about it. When I had to write 0 CSS to get these things, maybe that would be fine. Okay, so those are our principles, and we have a list of like things I need to like learn more about because maybe they'll go in there. A maybe list, maybe our should learn more list. I'm going to get rid of for the maybe list. That's kind of saying the same sort of thing. Just for organizational reasons. Okay, let's do something fun now. Let's look at Josh's. I think I remember the stuff that's in here, so I'll know if we need it or don't need it, or if we've already have it in our list. And we'll see what's in Josh's because I think there'll probably be stuff to steal that I want, and which we'll credit, of course. Box sizing, we've done it. We did it. Tempting to rip all the margins off. We so far have not done that. I don't hate all margins. Some margins I don't mind, I guess. I'm trying to think of a margin that I like. You know, like I guess the default margins on paragraphs are fine, although they are on the top and the bottom, and I generally prefer just bottom or block end, as it were. Enable the motion. See, this is a beautiful one. This is the thing that allows animating to height auto and the reverse of that or whatever. We should do that. But we already have a motion preference in here, right? Yeah, we have the smooth scrolling unless only when the page is focused. We should steal this. We're going to steal it. Now, why did we do it on the root? I usually don't like root HTML. So we'll go like that. We'll go interpolate keywords, and then we'll say and. Yeah. good, fun. I almost want to put something in here that shows this working, but I don't know what the right thing is right now. But I guess we'll work on. I'm almost going to close the preview. I don't want to think about the preview right now. All right, the body, higher line height, heck yeah. Improved text rendering, don't want to go there. There's some like thoughts about performance there. I'm not always convinced it actually looks better. I'm not going to do it. Sorry, Josh. Media defaults, we have those going on. How's our list? He's got 5 here, and SVG's 1. I bet SVG's not on our list because I want to circle back around to SVG usage in a different way. Ours is image, video, iframe. So Josh has canvas on his list. Maybe he does more canvas work for me. That's an example of like, maybe it deserves to be on this list, but I like never use canvas. And when I am using canvas, I'm really doing something specific, and I'm definitely going to target it and style it myself. Like, I don't think it's like a thing that I'll forget about. Like the most important one on this list is images and resetting their size. That's going to happen to me all the time. So I'm happy with our list. Inheriting fonts, we're doing that. Breaking words, we're doing that. Although this is an interesting selection. We're doing it on, Josh is doing it on P's 2, overflow wrap break word. What are we doing it on? Where's our break word? Oh, we put it all the way up on HTML and just let it sprinkle down. So Josh is saying, I don't want to, like, to me, it's weird to have P, but not LI or not DD or not TD and stuff like that. It's like, that's a weird list. So I don't know what to say. I think I prefer how we are doing it. It just makes me think Josh intentionally doesn't want it on certain elements, and I wonder why. Text wrap pretty on paragraph specifically. We are doing this one, but we're not doing this one yet. And I see the ordering would matter here too, right? Because this, well, I don't know. If this was a star, it would. Would we put text wrap pretty on everything? It's just paragraphs. Just paragraphs. No list items? I think he might be right about that one. Because it's like it matters most to like multiple lines of thing, and too many lists would not need it that have it. Are we doing anything else specifically just for P's? Probably not. To me, it's one of those ones where it's tempting to limit the line length on P's too. All right, where's a good place to put this? We're starting to get into form territory down here. Where's a good typography zone? It's probably like here. So text wrap pretty. I think I like it. What other elements deserve it? Maybe none? Don't know. But I would be tempted to do like this. Maybe even that. I do use definition lists more than your average Joe, probably, where you go like max inline size of like 80 characters or something, or 88. I think I saw. Let's do 88 just to be weird. Like 88 miles per hour, like Back to the Future. I might revisit that, but I do like that's an easy one to forget about. It's like, just don't let your paragraphs go too far. It's fine if parent elements get that wide. It's fine if most stuff gets that way, but a P is like a readable piece of type. And it's not even limiting it if it gets too big or something. We're not setting a pixel value or anything like that. We're setting the line length. So really big type can have really long lines, but really small type can't, because it's ridiculous when I feel like Wikipedia was like that forever, at the longest line length ever. And you're like, what are you doing? People need to read this website. Yeah, right. And then number 10, create a root stacking context. So he uses Next.js a lot. We definitely won't put that in there. And then this requires having an element with an ID of root on it. Isolate. Now we're going to have to definitely read about that one. I think I get all the rest of it. The last one is optional. Okay. It's generally only needed if you use a JavaScript framework like React. As we saw in What the Heck Z-index, the isolation property allows us to create a new stacking context without needing to set a Z-index. Okay, this is beneficial since it allows us to guarantee that certain high priority elements like modals, dropdowns, will always show up above elements in our application. No weird stacking Z context bugs. No Z index arms race. How does it prevent an arms race? I feel like once you're inside of your entire application, you can totally still get into an arms race. You should tweak the selector to match your framework. I don't know. I don't want it. So here's the finished product again. I think we stole what we wanted from Josh. We got some good stuff there. Okay. Hi, Constantine. I think Bringhurst, the famous Bringhurst from what is the book called? The Elements of Typographic Style or whatever. I'm sure I have it around here somewhere. Oh, no. I have the Don Norman one. I have a lot. I have the classics around here somewhere. The perfect line, like the 66 characters. I would think it's pretty font dependent and stuff. But we'll see. And it's not, I'm not trying to set what the line length is in this reset. I was trying to set the maximum. So just not, I could see bringing it down a little bit or trying to be more specific about it, but essentially just not going way too wide. So I don't mind that instead of 66, we're using something bigger here just to provide a safeguard, but not to be overly crazy about it, I guess. All right, here's another one. Let's steal some stuff from Mr. Jake Lazaroff here. Classic. We're using the same name for the layer, so that's smart. Cool, but we went a different way. We got the line height. Here's the same thing from Josh's. All right, we have a more limited list. Font inherit's one of my favorite. Letter spacing inherit. A little funky. I don't do so much with letter spacing that I would think that would be necessary to inherit, but I guess the point is, like, if you're inheriting this, maybe you should inherit other things too that wouldn't come along for the ride with just font. I don't know. That's a little bit more interesting. Like if you set a paragraph to pink around an input, would you expect the input to be pink too? Not sure I care that much. That's from Josh's. Ripping off the list styles, I don't want to do. It's tempting to do something with lists where, like, when do you rip off the list styles? Well, you do sometimes, but I don't know. And I find myself doing it a lot too, like any list used for anything other than like body copy lists. I tend to rip it off. So I think if I could like ascertain a little bit more about the project, what I probably would, this is really common Chris thing, is to have like a body class or I call it like text sometimes, or copy. And then I put typography related stuff nested within a .copy class. So if there's like a chunk of text anywhere in the app and I know that it's like body copy like it's a chunk of markdown or something is going to get rendered in there, you give it the copy class, and then you can make choices where the UL and LI maybe, or the OLs bring back their default style. So the list style then can become disk again and whatever, and you can make nice looking style. But outside of copy, then you're ripping it all off, list style, none, and rip off the margins and all that stuff. I kind of like that, because then you're opting into the fancy bullets and all that stuff. But I think in our case, we just want to leave the bullets alone, I think. I don't know that I want to mess with them by default. So, I'm not beholden to this preview, but this structure for nested lists, I think, is fine for a starter. Really tempting, though, to give myself a little bit more there, but I'm not sure. So any element at all that doesn't have a class on it, so H1 that doesn't have a class on it, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we've looked at this before. This has showed up in other resets, this idea that as soon as anything has a class on it at all, people treat it as this indicator that you're going to do some extra styling for it. The reason the class is there is because you're going to do some bonus styling to it. So why not, I don't know, rip stuff off or whatever and get ready for that additional styling? And I've always been like, I don't know. It's not always why you add a class to something. Sometimes you add a class to something because it's something for JavaScript to hook onto, or maybe you're forced into having that class on there because your CMS does it for some reason. So I've always been like, I get it. It's kind of clever, but let's see what they're doing here. So an H1 that doesn't have a class on it has margin up and down on it. So an H1 that does have a class on it in this reset would still have margin block on it because H1s have margin block on it. So this has probably less margin block as soon as you have the class. I feel like that's just not enough. That's not useful. So an H1 with or without a class still has margin block on it. Yeah, it just doesn't jive with me very well. Margins on the paragraphs. If I was going to do anything, if I was going to start messing with margins more specifically, I do find in general, and this is just an old school sentiment, that I like elements that like push other elements down when they're textual elements. Yeah, that's what I would do. But for the most part in user agent style sheets, things that have margin in the block direction have it both on the top and bottom, which is not so bad because margins collapse and it's kind of fine. And it ensures that there's space, vertical space between elements, like kind of in a better way. Don't hate it. But the problem is that you get that margin block in the top or start direction on stuff that you don't often want it on. Like if you have a card, like this P right here, it's like if this was an H1 inside it, there'd be extra space above it because all these elements have margin block start margin on it. And I hate that when there's extra space at the top and bottom of cards. Now that's kind of what margin trim is for. I love margin trim. It is only in Safari right now that it basically can trim away the margin on sides when there's margin that's like hitting nothing. It's not hitting some other element. I like it, but I can't see how I would use it in a reset style sheet. So that's going on. Hi, Sue. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, the ampersand just means whatever the selector was in the nesting. So the ampersand becomes that. So the selector that the browser sees is H1 : not class, yada, yada. It's interesting to see that. Sometimes you don't, like the implied selector here. So I wonder if we can mess with it. Like if you just see H1 here, the implied selector is anything like star, not class, space H1, because you don't need the ampersand. It's a little bit like saying that. You just don't need the ampersand there. It's just okay to leave it off. But if you want to put the ampersand somewhere else, like in this case, you wanted to append it to the end of this, you can do that. Now that's interesting. I thought that was one of the limitations that native CSS nesting couldn't do. I thought it couldn't do that. Sass could always do that. But I thought in native nesting they couldn't smash the ampersand together like that. You could even do that. You could put it in the middle, but you just couldn't do it with no spaces. But I might be wrong about that. Might be they solved that one too. There's definitely been a lot of rounds of changes of nesting since when it first dropped. So I would suspect that's the case because this really isn't that old. And I doubt Jake would do a Sass specific reset and publish it publicly like that. So I think we got what we wanted from Jake. I have this tab open because I do sort of like and find myself doing very regularly on lots of projects, giving myself some options for font sizing. So I can be, and specifically fluid font sizes I think are kind of nice. But I'm going to punt because it was one of our principles, darn it, is to not use custom properties. And I think, that's exactly what these are. And it would go against that principle kind of. So I'm tempted to think about fluid type a little bit, but not do this specifically. So, and by that, I mean like what font size are we setting here? We're setting 100%. Like, is there a world where instead of 100%, we make it fluid? You know, like we find some value that's nice in there. Like we do a clamp where the minimum is 100%. Does that make sense? Minimum is 12 pixels, and then we do, this is where it gets variable. So you do, I don't know, you stay at the 12 pixels, but you factor in, I guess, do you have to do a calc when you're inside of here, or do you not need to? 12 pix plus 0.2 viewport width units, and then the maximum is bigger. 2 rev, I don't know. Maybe we don't even need clamp. Is that interesting? I don't know. Like, oh, it got a lot smaller. So the idea is that it can get bigger. Oh, it doesn't get that much bigger, does it? 5? It gets bigger as the page gets bigger and smaller as the page gets smaller. But it only goes down as to an absolute minimum of 12 pixels big. Maybe. Do I like that? I kind of like that. I don't know. And what does 2rem clamped on the HTML element mean? Obviously, this is probably bigger than that already. It just means that's the base. So if the H1s are then set in rem units, or they're M's in this case, it's like it's like you took whatever the value is of that and you multiplied it by 2, essentially. Because that'd be the closest next thing that the M unit would see. I'm kind of down with it. And because you're using rems here, it should scale up. But I guess that means this should be a rem. Like you should just use all. And then what is a rem if you don't set it? Hi, Dave. Yeah. Yeah, we're almost done with it. Almost done. I'm trying to decide if I want fluid type like as a default in a starter. And I don't want to set it on like H1 all the way, different values of it all the way down. Like we had the fluid type thing up. I don't want to do that in a starter. It's like too much. And you don't have to. Like we could just put 100% here and that's fine. But then I'm just not doing fluid type. Like fluid type is there's some kind of appeal to it. Like can it be so generalized like this is close to being? That's cool. But what does it even mean? Like, what do we mean when we're like clamping at the HTML level of a document? Like, will that minimum and maximum ever even matter, really? Yeah, certainly accessibility is the top concern, but it's like, I thought it was cool if, you're using relative units, and the zooming still works, I'd hate to just like announce that it's fine though, because I don't really know. Can you mess with it in Chrome? Font, site settings. Oh, I don't know. Oh, is it down? Customize fonts. So if we made it huge, is it huge? Well, yeah, it's huge. It's freaking enormous, dog. It's like pretty big. It's pretty big. So that's, I mean, whatever. That's the deal. It's respecting it. I don't know. I think I like it. I think I'm going to keep it. It's not triggering like gnarly internal guts. Sometimes I know when I'm doing something wrong, and your guts feel weird about it. Something actually feels kind of fine. It feels kind of fine. I'm going to keep it for now. So I think that's it. Oh, wait, there's one more, right? The new CSS reset. Where did we get this one? Elad. Who are you? Oh, yeah. I know you. forget how. I think he's a good writer for CSS Tricks or something. He has his own, certainly his own new career and stuff. How old is this? I like hitting contributors on GitHub. It tells you exactly when the first commit was. 21, not that bad. Was even touched in 2024. Okay, pretty recent, pretty recent. So let's look. Where's the whole thing? Okay, a character set. The where thing is handling by layers. So I don't think we need that. So this is this is very different. So every element that's not one of these and also not one of these, why are they separated? I don't know why there's two knots. Is it because of just the children thing? I don't really get why the selector is the way it is. And it says all unset. That's and display revert is way too crazy for my style. So like an HTML element or like an H1, you know, it's not one of these and it's not one of these. So it's all unset and display revert. Seems friggin' hardcore. What does a page look like that does this? Like just this, if we were to just steal that, we were temporarily just paste that in instead. Is it wiped? That is just destroyed. That's the hardest core reset ever. No, thank you. That is not my goal, but I get it. That's a freaking reset. The word reset here is used correctly. So what happens after that though? Gets the box sizing. Reverts the cursor or something. Not sure I care about that. Rips off list styles. Isn't this happening? All unset. Like OL is not one of these elements, and so all unset should rip off the list style too, right? Is list style not one of all? I don't know. For images, not being able to exceed their container, absolutely. In both directions, no. Don't care about the other directions. Not that I don't care. I just don't think, like, the logical properties, like I've said this too many times now, like, just because a website is set in Japanese doesn't mean you turn the, meaning a top to bottom language or whatever, however you say it, they don't turn their images sideways, whatever. Tables we got to do. It's on the list. So what do we think about this table is not good, right? Don't like it. What would you put in a starter to fix that? Even this basic ass table just sucks. So I feel like it's worth a little bit. Do we do nothing with tables yet? Table. There's just not even in here whatsoever. That's surprising. So I guess we'll just start a new section for tables. We wanted the border collapse, right? Border collapse. Even though there's no borders on this particular table. Should there be? Do we like the idea of borders around tables generally? I think I do. I like it. Border 1 pix solid gray. And I know I'm just doing TD for now, but let's see how that looks. You'd miss the top, but I think I'd put them around the THs too for sure. So we'll rock the THs. It's a little bit of a bummer how this new editor doesn't inject the CSS. We'll have to scroll down a bunch. No. Ooh, break word none, Dave. What are you thinking? Is that like instead of overflow or no wrap? White space no wrap? Is that the new cool white space no wrap? I'll try it. Break word none. But so that's a way of saying like don't break in between a word. Oh. I see what you mean. It's because it's this one. We have word break word up here, so we have to reset. We have to go word break whatever. Unset? We could do that. Word break unset. So at least the words won't break, but it'll still wrap. Right? No. Why is it so intense there? Number. What is the computed word break on it? Word break, break word. I said to reset, dog. TH. TH. Oh, I see. I did the wrong one. TH. God damn it. Really? Does it not take unset? It's crossed out. TH. It doesn't like unset as a value, perhaps. That's okay. Maybe we were trying to be too fancy. What's a different value for unset? Why doesn't it let me click it? No break? What are the values for this? Oh, there we go. Keep all. Normal. Normal's good, right? I don't know what keep all means. Break all. That's what we want. We want it to wrap but not break words. We're going with normal. Normal. All right, and definitely some space. Definitely some space for sure. You know what we need to do? I have a plan. I'm sick of scrolling. Break my ass scrolling. Where's the freaking table? I'm gonna put inspect table. Index.html. Where's the table? ID table. Cool. And then at the bottom of this thing, we'll just go like script window.scroll. What is it scroll to? Does scroll to take an element? Ooh, window.scroll to. Can I just have it scroll down to a particular element? No, it needs to be a stupid coordinate. How do I get the coordinates? I don't want the coordinates. I want to scroll to an element. Maybe all we have to do is, we don't need a script. We'll just put the URL. We'll have hash table on it. There it goes. So will it scroll down to this point even when refreshed? It does. That's great. Cool. Screw Java. Look, why did my brain go to JavaScript? Something wrong with me. All right, that's getting there. Maybe that's fine. I don't know. It's not like I'm going to zebra stripe it or anything. Is the text a little too big? Like would you notch down a TD maybe? Like 90% or something? Oh yeah, last name got jacked. You're right, Dave. I got a TD it too. Which means that this is the same selector, which means we can do that. Why didn't it work? Oh, there, it's fixed. It's fine. Okay, and then would you put on, like there's a thing with tables that I really like the poor man's responsive table. It's not really responsive. How is it? Adrian? Responsive table or something. He's got some, what does he call it? An responsive accessible table. He's usually under engineered. That's the one I want. Where you just wrap it in a div and the div has overflow on it. You need 2 lines of HTML. You need that bad boy. Can do. But it's a little hard for a reset because it requires that the table be wrapped. So that would be like a little note, I guess. Ooh, no, definitely want to wrap just the table. Cool. And then this. Overflow auto being the crucial thing, and it has a focus style, but I guess we can do that with nesting. So we'll steal that. And it goes, yeah, he doesn't use a table parent, but I feel like in my reset I'm going to, and then a focus style. Do we already have a focus style? Do tables just not have a focus style? Is that why this is here? Yeah, maybe. Anyway, I gotta go. I gotta pick up my kid from camp. So BRB. See you next time. Thanks very much.